Hello, welcome back. So now in this part we will discuss about the mechanical properties of materials. And in this mechanical property of material, there is a very important property which is the strength of material. Well, strength of material is very important to understand the ability of a material, whether it can sustain a load with low deformation or not. So this strength of material is inherent property, and it can be determined using by the experiment. So to determine the strength of material, we can conduct the tests. So in that, the test can be tension test or compression test. So in this lecture, we will discuss about the tension test that is being conducted on a material. So once we conduct this test, then we can determine the relationship between the normal stress and normal strain by drawing a curve for many engineering materials such as the metals, polymers, composites. So by conducting this test, we can determine the stress and strain relationship for any engineering materials. So, so here we will talk about the tension test. So in the tension test, first of all, we need to prepare a specimen. So here we will consider that we will be conducting test on a steel specimen. So for conducting tension test on a steel specimen, the specimen looks like this. So in this, you can see the specimen has enlarged ends. So these are the enlarged ends, and they are actually enlarged intentionally because while conducting the tension test, we want the failure to become within the central region. So you can see this central region has low cross-sectional area as compared to the cross-sectional area of the enlarged ends. So obviously when you stretch, then the failure will occur in the area where the cross-section is less. So that is done intentionally. So before conducting the test, sometimes we punch at some location. So here you can see there are two punch marks. So these two distance between these two punch marks will we will consider that as a initial length of the specimen. And after this, then we fix this specimen in the machine, which is called universal testing machine. So this is the machine. So where so this is the specimen which is being fixed in the both ends. Now, along with the specimen, sometimes we attach the extensometer. So here you can see these are the extensometer which are attached with the specimen. Now, the role of these extensometer is to measure the elongation of the specimen as we apply the load. So here we are. So these extensometer will actually measure the elongation as the load is applied uniformly. So in the machine, we apply the tension load uniformly so that we can have a gradual behavior of the specimen. So once we apply the maximum load, then the specimen will fail by increasing the localized stress. So the failed specimen will look like this. So before failure, the cross-sectional area at a localized point, it will be decreased and then it will fail suddenly. So now this test, we can once we determine the load data and the deformation data of this specimen, then we can plot the result to find the curve, which is called the stress strain curve. So the stress strain curve can be expressed in two ways. One is by the conventional way, and the second one is as the true stress strain. So first we will discuss the conventional stress strain curve because this curve is very important. So for understanding the behavior of the material, uh, if we have the curve, we can predict how the material will behave, whether it is a brittle material, whether it is a ductile material. or having high ductility or have high plasticity. So once we have the curve, stress strain curve for a material, we can have a lot of idea about the properties of the material. So here we will discuss this curve to and discuss some terms to understand the property of the material. And here our material is the steel. So first of all, we will discuss about the elastic behavior. So when we apply load, so up to some load, our steel will behave elastically. So here in this curve, you can see the region of the light orange. So this region, it is actually representing the elastic behavior of the material. So in this, you can see the curve is straight up to a point, and corresponding to this point, the stress value is sigma PL. So up to this point, the line is straight. So this means that stress is directly proportional to strain. Now, if we increase the load, then the curve, sorry, the line will become curved. So what does it means? It means if we apply load up to this, if we apply load up to this in the steel bar, then uh, after removal of the load, it will regain its shape instantly. But if we apply load beyond this value and up to this value, then it means I will enlarge this one. So it is something like this. So up to this load, the the material will regain its strength instantly after removal of the load. Now, if we apply load, say higher than the sigma PL value, in that case, if we remove the load, then material may not regain its shape instantly, but it may take some time to regain. So that is why we say that up to this point, the material will behave elastically. So the curve shown here, I mean the reason up to shown here in the light orange form. So up to this region, our material will behave elastically. So sigma PL is expressed as the proportionality limit. So up to proportionality limit, the stress is directly proportional to strain. And this relation that stress is directly proportional to strain, it has been introduced uh, by the Robert Hooke. So he has first discovered this behavior that up to the proportionality limit, stress is directly proportional to strain. Or we can write stress is equals to a constant multiplied by strain. So this constant is different for different material, and this constant is actually expressed as E. So E multiplied by strain. So here the E, this E is known as Young's modulus of elasticity. So we can write that the stress say sigma will be equals to E into epsilon. So that becomes the relation that is being given by the Robert Hooke. So he has given the law, which means, which states that up to proportionality limit, stress will be directly proportional to the strain. So mathematically, the law can be expressed as sigma equals to E into epsilon. So epsilon is the strain, sigma is the stress, and E is the Young's modulus of elasticity, which is different for different materials. So this Young's modulus of elasticity depends, actually it expresses the stiffness of the material. So stiffer is the material, higher will be the value of E for that particular material. So E represent the constant of proportionality, which is called the modulus of elasticity or Young's modulus. Now here you can see strain has no dimension, so the unit of stress will be same for unit of, unit of elasticity, which means E, will be similar to the unit of stress, and which is Newton per mm square or megapascal or Pascal. So the unit will be same. So that is the elastic behavior. Now we will talk about the next behavior of the material, which is yielding. So the yielding is shown here by dark orange region. So the whole region representing the yielding. Now yielding means uh, as we apply, I mean up to the elastic region, say this is the curve and this is representing the sigma PL and this point is representing the sigma Y. Now before sigma Y, say if we are standing here, before sigma Y, if we are here, so stress corresponding to this, I am naming this as sigma. So up to sigma, if we apply load up to sigma, then uh, the material can regain its shape without any permanent deformation. But if we increase the stress sigma to sigma Y, so at this stress, the material will start breaking down. So this is the first stress which will be responsible for breaking down the material. And after this stress, the material will be deform, will deform permanently. So this stress, which is corresponding to this stress is sigma Y. So at this stress, material will deform permanently and it will behave, it will deform plastically actually. So up to this reason, you can see we are not increasing any stress, but it is behaving plastically. So without increasing the stress, it is deforming or it is elongating. So in this region, as you can see, material is behaving plastically without increasing further stress. So that is why this region is sometimes known as uniform or perfectly plastic region. So this region is also known as perfectly plastic region of the material. So this behavior is called the yielding of the material. And the stress corresponding to this yielding is known as sigma Y and known as yield stress. Yield stress. So this yield stress is very important to determine because in our design, generally we find out the yield stress for the material and we consider that this is the maximum strength the material can take. So in various design, for example, in the steel structure design, we consider the maximum strength of steel up to yield stress, and we design our material, we design our structure element based on the value of yield stress. So determining this value is very important. Now, so here, as I said, once the yield point is reached, the specimen will continue to elongate without any increase in the load. So here you can see this behavior is shown by a straight line. But this straight line now is a horizontal line, which means there is no increment in the stress, but only the increment in the strain. And strain is basically the deformation. So only deformation is occurring without increasing the load. So this is how we can interpret this uh, behavior. So it is sometimes referred as perfectly plastic. Now coming to the next behavior. Now coming to the next behavior, that is strain hardening. So strain hardening is represented by this light green region. Now at this stage, material will again, as you can see, material is in the plastic stage. So the molecules or the molecules of the material will now start restructuring. And once they restructured, then they will again regain some strength. And with this strength, it means it can still take some more load. So at this stage, when we apply more load to the material, then here you can see it can further take load up to this point. So the stress corresponding to this point is representing as sigma u. So up to this point, it can still take some load. So I mean, the maximum load it can take is represented by this term, which is sigma u. So, but here you can see the curve is again rising. Curve is again rising, but it is not uh, uniform. Here you can see that the curve is flatter, which means if you are increasing the load as well as at the same time, the deformation is also occurring, which is the permanent deformation. So this region is known as strain hardening. Why? Because the molecules of the element is restructured and they attain some hardness again to take some more load. So the reason is known as strain hardening. So maximum stress point in this region is sigma u. This is also a very important stress because it will give us the maximum stress value which the material can take. So sigma u is also very important in while designing the material, while designing the steel structures. Determining the value of sigma u is also very important because various formula is based on the value of sigma u. So the rise in the curve in this manner is known as strain hardening. Now coming to the last last term, which is the necking. So we can see that up to this point, the material was elongating uniformly. Now, if we further increase the load at this point, what will happen? Like if we look at our specimen, so like our specimen is like this, and when we are applying the load, then it is elongating. It is elongating uniformly. It is elongating uniformly. But when we apply load beyond this, then it will have some localized stress. I mean, the in the localized region, for example, in the central region, the cross sectional area may decrease like this. So ultimately, the necking will form. So here you can see at this point, the cross sectional area is decreased because of the localized stress, higher stress. So at this region, the stress will be very high as compared to these regions. So when this situation will come, then the load which will lead to the failure of this region will be known as fracture stress. So this fracture, I mean the curve is downward in this manner. So that is the fracture stress. So at the load at which it will fail will be termed as fracture stress, and it is representing here as sigma f. So as I said, up to the ultimate stress, as the specimen elongates, its cross-sectional area will decrease in a fairly uniform manner over the specimen. But just after reaching the ultimate stress, the cross-sectional area will then begin to decrease in the localized region of the specimen. And so it is here where stress will begin to increase. And as a result, a neck tends to form with further elongation. And here the stress strain diagram tends to curve downward until the specimen breaks at the fracture stress, which is sigma f. So that are the terms that we have used: yielding, elastic region, strain hardening, necking. So till now I have discussed the conventional stress strain curve. So this curve is known as conventional stress strain curve. Sometimes we represent this curve as a true stress strain curve. Now, in case of conventional stress strain curve, we find out the average stress. In case of conventional stress strain curve, we find out the average stress by dividing the force with original cross-sectional area. So the original cross-sectional area of the specimen, say this is the specimen. So its original cross-sectional area, if we represent here as A naught. So we can determine average stress strain curve by using this average stress strain curve by taking the original cross-sectional area. But actually, as you can see here, or at this stage, you can see the area of cross-section will decrease as load is applied. So if we take the original cross-sectional area in case of true stress, so we can find out true stress by dividing force by the original, or sorry, not original, actual cross-sectional area at that time of loading. So as you can see, if we want to find out stress at this point, so at this point, if we find the force at this point, and if we divide that force with the actual cross-sectional area, then the stress will actually be rising. So as you can see here, this curve is actually showing the true stress strain diagram. So here you can see, as the area of cross-section is decreasing and force is increasing, then the stress will actually be increasing at this point. And as we further increase the load, the area of cross-section will be decreased, and ultimately the stress will be increased. So that is why this stress strain curve for this case is rising. While in our case that we have discussed, that is conventional stress strain diagram, in this, at all the time, whether we find out stress at this location or at this location or at this location or this location, we are finding this stress by dividing the original cross-sectional area or initial cross-sectional area. So initial cross-sectional area is constant, and that is why the stress at various point is increasing or decreasing. So at this point it is increased, and if we further apply the load, it is decreasing. So that is why this curve is shown downward, but actually it should be upward. So sometimes we express our stress strain curve by drawing the true stress strain diagram, and that is what I have mentioned here. So the value of stress and strain found from these measurements are called the true stress and true strain, and we plot their values as, and is called true stress strain diagram. So this is referring to the true stress strain diagram. Now we can understand, now till now we have discussed the stress strain diagram. Now stress strain diagram for all the materials will be different. Now with the help of some of the diagram of different material, we can now interpret how that material would be, whether that material is ductile or brittle or plastic. So by having some stress strain curve, we will now try to understand the property of particular material. For example, stress strain curve of material A. So this blue line is representing the stress strain curve of this material. So in this you can see the curve is a straight line. There is no curved line, which means it is, I mean, in this, up to at the last point, stress is proportional to strain. But if we increase the load at this point, it will fail suddenly. There is no curvature in this line, so it will fail suddenly. So what does it mean? It means that material A is brittle material, which means it will take some load, and at some point when we further increase the load, it will fail suddenly. It will not show any deformation in that. So this is how we can interpret material A. So material A is a brittle material, and the material is also very strong because there is a little strain at high stress. Yes, you can see on this is very little strain as compared to this high stress. So you can see at very high stress, it is having very low strain. So this is basically the brittle material. The example can be the glass. As you can see, if we apply the load at glass, and if we further apply the load at glass, it will fail suddenly. It will not show you any bending, any deformation. It will fail suddenly. So the behavior of material glass is termed as brittle behavior. Similarly, if we take another example of say material B. So in the material B, you can see up to this point, it is showing that stress is proportional to strain. And when we further increase the stress up to this point, it is curved. It means it will deform very slightly, and after that it will break. So in this, deformation will be shown, but it will be very slight deformation. So the example, so in this you can see the material is, we can interpret material B as it is a strong material which is not ductile. Why? Because the curve is very small, which means the deformation will occur very less in this material. So the material, the example for this material can be high strength wire. So in this, when we have a high strength wire and when we try to stretch it, it may stretch a very little, and after that it will break suddenly from this point. So the behavior can be shown by this curve. Now talking about the material C. So we have just discussed the stress strain curve of material C. So here you can see this material is having straight line, which means it is having some elastic region, and after that it gets into a lot of deformation. So you can see the curve is very large, and it is basically showing the plasticity. So before failing, before breaking, it shows a lot of deformation, and this behavior is known as ductile behavior. So material C can be termed as a ductile material, which will be having elastic region, and also it will deform. I mean, it will show a lot of deformation before failure. So low carbon steel or mild steel are the best example for material C. Similarly, if we talk about the next material, which is material D. So in this case, you can see this material is having very low elastic region and a very high plastic region. This is plastic region. So you can see here at a very low load, it will deform. So this kind of material, even at a very low load, will deform permanently. So this is how we can interpret this curve, material D. So this is a plastic material with very small elastic region. So at a very low load, it can deform permanently. So this is how we can interpret curve for material D. So in the next part, we will now take some example, and we will now try to solve those examples to understand the concept of stress and strain. So thank you.